You also talk about anxiety, which I think, and I'll be one raising my hand too. Sometimes I've struggled with anxiety. I've never struggled with
Sure.
anxiety in my entire life, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
in the past, what, 3 4 years, I have this anxiety. I'm like, where is this coming from? And you talk
Yeah.
about living, with God, partnering with God, and rejecting anxiety wholly. And how do you talk to your clients about ridding of anxiety?
Yeah. So it's funny. I'm thinking about someone right now as you ask this question. And one of the things I had shared with him, because he's going through just a lot of anxiety, he was having a hard time sleeping, all of those things. And I had said, I'd given him one assignment. I said, I don't want you to do anything else other than this one assignment. I want you to, before you go to bed, I want you to write out what are all the things that are creating anxiety for you. And then I want you to ask the Father, what are your thoughts concerning what's creating anxiety for me? And that's all I want you to do. So I want you to engage God specifically on those things that are creating angst for you. And he came back after about 7 days and he said, it was interesting that he said all the things that I was writing down were all connected to like financial stuff or whatever. And they're doing really well in business, right? But it was just like, that this could come crashing down, that I'm not gonna be able to provide for my family and all these things. And the Lord simply said, when he asked the Father for his thoughts, what are your thoughts and what's your heart concerning these things that are like plaguing me? He said, I am your provider. That is the truth. And so the Lord had given him an instruction every time that you are feeling like this stuff is anxiety for you. I just want you to remind yourself, say to yourself, I am your provider. And he said, after just a few days, he's like, I haven't had an issue with this since, because every time it's like he gave me the truth that I can exchange this lie for every single night. And so he's like, and now after doing that, he's like, actually, I just remind myself of the truth, and I keep moving. Yeah. And now he's sleeping well. So I give that example as just the simple step of engaging God about our thought lives and the things that create anxiety. Now, I'm not saying that that's the thing that everyone's going to use for all of their anxieties, but I think it's step one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people, the instruction might be, go see a therapist. And and as the source, I'm going to lead you to a resource that will help you walk through this. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just an engaging God and he just brings healing or just restoration, whatever. There's all types of ways that people can deal with their anxiety. But I believe that the first step is to engage the actual source, the creator of your whole self.
Yes. That is amazing. It's an amazing story. And I think, yes, partnering with God in every area of your life.
Yes.
If you're having trouble with that, guys, anxiety, engage with God the Father and ask him his thoughts. I love that. Asking him his thoughts. What does he think about your anxiety? What's causing you anxiety? And it's crazy when you talk about this guy was having anxiety over financial and he was doing really well. It's like,
and they're doing extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes people think
really well.
Yeah. Sometimes people think that you're doing well. Why would you worry about these things? And it doesn't go away.
No, financial anxiety is real. I call that the mind grind. When you've got these anxieties like that, I'm like, people think that grinding is just about the number of hours you work. I'm like, no, man, you can work 10 hours a week and be grinding. And you could be grinding all in your head. You could be grinding in your head 24 hours a day, or all your waking hours, right? Yes. So it's like grinding is not just about how many hours you work. It's about doing things in your own strength and not allowing the presence of God and the favor of God and the goodness of God to be where you're operating from.
Yes.
And deriving all wisdom and strategy and your way forward from. That's what it's like, right? Yes. And so I loved that he so quickly was able to establish himself and root himself in the truth so that he could just kind of walk that out. And what's interesting around that financial anxiety, like you said, is that, whether you're just starting in business and barely making ends meet with it, or whether you've got 6 figures sitting in your operational savings account, you're like, there's nothing naturally around you that tells you that you're going to be in any type of financial issue in your business, but yet still have issues with anxiety around, when's the other shoe going to drop? What might happen because of the pandemic, what might, whatever that creates this anxiety.
Yes.
So
yes.
Absolutely. It's a huge one for entrepreneurs of all phases.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love it when you talk about the mind. It's like, you can stop working physically, but you're still mentally working. And I do that all the time. Like sometimes I'll be doing whatever, brushing my teeth, and I'll be working, thinking about this podcast, whatever it is, this podcast and how this is going to go. And I think that we all have to, give that to God as well. And how do you in the modern culture kind of unplug? You talk about taking sabbatical, and it's so hard to unplug, because especially when we're doing podcasts, we're on social media, we're doing all these different things, and I feel like we always have to be on our game. So what do you say to your clients? Like, how do you get them to unplug, right? How do they build that rhythm into their schedule?
Yeah. For one, we have to address the lie that we always have to be on, because it's not even true. Right? Because again, that's operating your own strength. The thought that, like, if I don't show up all the time and do all these things, things don't move forward. Not the case, right? I have many, many testimonies that that's a lie. Okay. So I had to deal with that first, but now I forgot what the question. I had to deal with that. I had to deal with that, Brett, and then I forgot the question.
No, I was just wondering, like, how do your client comes to you, they say, hey, I have a trouble resting. I can't unplug because I have to be on my game all the time. I got to do my social media. I have to keep my appearances up. I have to do all these different things, and I can never rest. I can never unplug. I can't get away with 5 weeks, whatever you said.
Yeah. And I don't normally get away with 5 weeks, right? So the idea is, how do you find those rhythms where you're not overbooking yourself, that you're creating these quiet spaces? So one of the things, I'm going to go back to the same client. Let's go back to the same person that I just had conversation with. And after we dealt with the whole mental anxiety stuff, at night, it was like, okay, you're feeling like you're also having anxiety because there's so many things going on. You have so many things to do as the COO of this business, working with your wife and doing all the things, and you've got so many things to do, right? Well, okay, let's figure out, where are you going to create quiet spaces that you can even hear God and speak to the Lord, where you're not so busy on a daily basis. Not, I'm working. Now let me take a rest. But no, how can you operate in these rhythms throughout the day? So I had him start with identifying, because I always start people with the first step, which is like daily business meetings with God. And so if you're not already in a rhythm of engaging God, you might have quiet time, or you may or may not. But if you don't ever engage God as it relates to your business, the first step I say is daily business meetings with God, to intentionally set aside time. Whether it be, I like it to be the first fruit of the day, right? Where you're like, okay, before you get started in your work. So if you start work at 9, do that from 9 to 9:30, or do it from 8:30 to 9, whatever, right? But whenever, to be intentional about that time to engage God concerning your business. But ultimately, to get into a regular rhythm, for me, it's not just about having a half an hour in the morning. I don't ever schedule things back to back to back to back. I specifically create time between meetings, time between, blocks of, focus time that I have to do on something. I always create spaces for me to be able to sit back, be quiet, be still, and engage God about what just happened or what's about to happen, right? Or what might be going on in my head that I need to kind of deal with, or whatever. Yeah. So I've just created a rhythm of life that creates space, quiet spaces. Yes, like that. But a good place to start is if you're not engaging God concerning your business at all, you're not asking him his thoughts, his heart concerning things. If you're not looking at the scripture and asking him to just illuminate that for you in a way that's beyond what you could have done in your own understanding, start there, right? Start there with just an intentional time that you're just like, here's my to-do list, Lord, but this is a surrender to-do list. What's on your heart concerning this week? Yeah. What's on your heart concerning this business? What's your heart concerning the people that I serve, right? And just getting in the rhythm of just engaging God in that way.
Thank you so much for checking out the Brett Snodgrass channel. If you like this video, please slam on that like button. And if you really like it, then subscribe to our channel here. And remember to leave us a comment below, and I'm going to try my hardest to reply to all the comments. Thank you guys so much. This is why I do what I do. Every single week, I come out with content that focuses on success, freedom, and living out your purpose. Thank you guys so much. See you next time.